Warning. Clarification. At the beginning of Part 1, I said that I thought Halo 5 had one of the worst campaigns and stories in video game history. What I meant to say is that Halo 5 has the worst story in the Halo franchise, and it is a piece of My previous statement suggests Halo 5 sits next to Shaq Fu, Destiny, Superman 64, and other steaming loads of shit like that. And Halo 5's story just isn't in that same category, and I can't, in good faith, say it is. But it's still shit. Enjoy Part 2. Mission 1, Osiris. So now we're fighting our enemies, and we're in some kind of war. And who knows what's at stake, or what even caused this battle. There's a bunch of forgettable exposition throughout this mission, and then we get another cutscene. This one shows the dramatic rescue of Dr. Halsey, in what could possibly be the most barf-inducing cutscene of Halo 5. We get a little banter between Jewel Madama and Halsey. The writers try to establish some sort of context for why Jewel and Halsey are here, but it's told in the form of incomprehensible jargon. Halsey's talking about triangulating and talking to someone, chasing shadows, and I don't have a goddamn clue what any of that means. Did I miss something? How about you tell me about the Promethean Covenant fight going on? Tell me something useful through this dialogue. And then, oh boy, another action scene. Number 4. Mind-numbing fight scenes. So when there's an action or fight scene in any story, there needs to be something else going on besides the fight itself. For example, when Will, Jack, and Norrington are fighting in Dead Man's Chest, they're not just fighting because it's an action scene. They're fighting for power. They're fighting for what they truly want. A key that will give them control over their lives again.
Do excuse me while I kill the man who ruined my life.
Be my guest.
And it's icing on the cake when a scene like this has incredible choreography. Fights are a great way to create interesting conflicts and give characters more depth.
I'm not gonna hold back this time.
I know. I won't either.
It can show us the differences of the people fighting.
I am so gonna kick your ass. No. I'm gonna kick your ass. Oh, it's on now.
Or reveal something about a character that we didn't know. They can also show the audience what the characters are fighting for and what makes them who they are. A good fight scene is one where you're invested in the characters and you have someone or something to root for. So let me ask you this. What are the characters fighting for? Jewel is fighting to defend himself, and Osiris is fighting because they were ordered to. This fight is as shallow as it gets, and that's the problem, is that we still don't have an emotional connection with Osiris or Jewel Mdama, and we don't care about this fight. So if there's no depth to this fight, then at least it has some good action, right? Wrong! This fight scene is choreographed terribly, but let's analyze it, shall we? So the first thing that bugs me is that Jewel is supposed to be the Supreme Covenant leader.
Covenant Supreme Leader Jewel Mdama.
And yet he only has 3 Spec Op elites guarding him. Also, in the opening shots of this scene, we see a phantom floating nearby. But then, we never see it again. Why didn't it attack the Spartans when Jewel was getting stabbed to death? And then look at this elite right here. He's got his gun pointed at Locke. Take the shot! Take the shot! God damn, these elites are so clumsy and easily outmaneuvered. Okay, so is Jewel deaf? Is that part of his character? Because it took him 20 seconds to react to the sound of gunfire, turn around, and pull out his sword. And so one of the writers had the genius idea to kill off this villain in the first mission. But we just got introduced to this character. And yeah, you knew him from Spartan Ops, but that's the problem. If you didn't play Spartan Ops, you're fucking clueless. What point did Jewel even have in Halo 5? Just to shove a middle finger in the faces of everyone who liked him and played Spartan Ops? What the fuck? The best part is when Jewel says, after 3 of his bodyguards are already dead, and even then, none of them fire a fucking shot or do any sort of damage. You know, maybe these elites are volunteers and had absolutely no military training. Maybe there's some sort of disease that causes the elites to become incredibly slow and retarded. Now, there's a reason why all of the action scenes in Halo 5 don't work, and that's because there's nothing going on between the characters that are fighting. And in all of those scenes that I chose from their stories, work very well, because we're interested in what's going on between the characters aside from the fact that they are fighting. Now, after watching this action scene, I can't help but think of all the different ways they could have made it a whole lot better. 1. Have Jul-M Dama survive the encounter and become a sort of rival to Locke and Osiris. This would avoid pissing off all those people that played Spartan Ops, and also give Jul-M Dama some reason to be in Halo 5 if he did something later. 2. Flesh out the conflict between Jul-M Dama and Osiris a bit more. Maybe M. Dama destroyed one of their home planets, or glassed it. Maybe he's been talking mad shit to the UNSC, and now it's finally time to put him down. 3. Just make it a really fucking good action scene with great choreography. So if the writers aren't going to make this scene interesting, then at least make an awesome, well-choreographed fight scene. Having the villain swing his weapon once isn't just terrible choreography, it's fucking lazy. So have this battle be a little bit longer, and have the Spartans struggle against Jul-M Dama and his elite guards. But overall, the action scenes in Halo 5 all suffer the same problem. They're used as filler and not as a means to tell the story. Oh, how did you lose your arm, Halsey? Wait, I've got an idea. Let's never reveal that to the audience.
Captain Lasky, I sent you my position 3 weeks ago. I told you this was happening.
We'll discuss that in private, Doctor, in a conversation that the audience would like to hear, but never will. And then Buck's like,
What do you think that's about?
hey dude, I asked you a question. I mean, I'm staring right at you, and you're not even looking at me. Aren't we supposed to be friends? Why aren't you talking to me? Fine, whatever, dude. Fuck you. This is a perfect example of a situation where the dialogue could have been used to relay important information to the audience and give Buck and Locke some personality. But instead, Locke acts like he's fucking deaf, and the scene fades out. Mission 2, Blue Team. Or number 5. Why are these characters in Halo 5? So wait, who are all these Spartans? Apparently one of them was in boot camp with Chief. Okay, I know who these Spartans are, but you know who doesn't? The average player. Again, expanded lore material is essential to understanding the characters. And another problem with this mission is I have no idea why these Spartans are with Chief. How did they meet up? When? And most importantly, why? These are the important things that need to be shown to the audience in Halo 5. So if you don't show or give us a reason for having these characters in your story, what's the fucking point of having them in the goddamn story? However, there is a reason why Blue Team, Vale, Tanaka, and Buck are in Halo 5, and Frank O'Connor explains it.
You know, we're always looking to make significant changes or evolutions to the gameplay, and Halo's always had a legacy of co-op. It's you and 3 identical clones of you all running around not enjoying a logical story. If we make it a squad-based game, we can double down on co-op, we can double down on the idea of an ensemble cast.
Basically what he's saying, these characters are in the story not because they were essential to the narrative of Halo 5, but because they satisfy a gameplay mechanic.
If we make it a squad-based game...
Okay, back to the story. Look at this character's name, Infinity Comms. They didn't even bother to give this guy a name. Okay, so what are we doing here? What's the mission? Eliminate hostiles. What hostiles? Well, I guess I can't expect a character named Infinity Comms to be specific about anything. What an asshole. But seriously, why are the starting missions for each fire team so boring? Osiris was bad enough, but this mission's premise is eliminate hostiles. Really? How about Chief is looking for some secrets that Halsey kept about creating new Cortanas, or he's looking for something to do with Cortana? Now I'm starting to get the feeling that Halo 5 has almost nothing to do with Halo 4. So rather than focusing on Chief's mental state, after losing the only real thing that kept him sane all these years, expanding upon the character development that Halo 4 set up, the writers decide to send him on some totally pointless mission with a group of characters that have no reason to be in this game. And then do you know what happens next? Can you take a wild guess? Why? It's another action scene, of course! And just like the other two, this one has the same problem. Wait, This was their plan? They didn't even discuss this. Did they all just telepathically communicate to follow each other through space, shoot open a window, and then dive inside? How did they know their projectiles would break the window? What if they all just flew into it and it didn't break? Did you think of that, Fred? 343 keeps portraying the Covenant in the most non-threatening, buffoonish way possible. I'm gonna get you. What?
What do we know about Argent Moon?
Wait, now Fred asks what they know about Argent Moon, the station that they just blasted into? Fred, you should know this shit already. No, he asks that so that Linda can blandly tell us about this location. So they keep talking about what they need to do, and they keep talking about it, and talking about it. And you think at some point they would talk about something besides the mission. Give the characters a chance to flesh out their personalities and their characters and how they connect to the chief. You know, something useful. No, put some more exposition in there. And then Fred drops a bomb.
The Covenant's war against the Arbiter must not be going well.
Wait, what? The Covenant and the Arbiter at war? And this is the way they revealed it to the player? Through bland exposition? Ugh. So before I talk about the next scene, which utterly breaks the story, I need to address the elephant in the room. Number 6, the characters. Now, the most obvious problem with Halo 5's story is its characters. There are so many flaws with the whole cast that it's going to take a while to explain everything that's wrong with them. Now, I won't be talking about Cortana specifically in this section, because I'm saving her for later. And as we go further into this story and this review, we're going to uncover everything that is wrong with Halo 5's characters and why they are so poorly written. And for this section, I'll just be talking about the basics. Now, I don't have a problem with the voice actors. They did as good a job as they could with this shitty material. Do we blame Peter Dinklage for his portrayal of the Ghost in Destiny? No, he's a fantastic actor. So we blame the writers and the shit job they did that hopefully got them fired. So do I think Brian Reed and the other writers deserve to be fired? Oh, well, you see... Characters are the backbone of any story, and it's pretty much impossible to tell a good story without them. There needs to be someone or something that connects with the audience, to get them invested, to make them care, and to make the story worth their time. Generally speaking, there are 4 types of characters: static, flat, dynamic, and round. Static characters are ones that don't change. Their personality does not transform or evolve. And dynamic characters are the opposite. Flat characters usually have one personality trait, while round characters are more complex. Not every character needs to be dynamic or round. A lot of stories work well with mostly static or flat characters. And the original trilogy of games are an example. Chief, Johnson, Cortana, these characters are mostly static, and they work in the overall story because they affect the narrative, they are interesting, and we can connect with them. Now, the issue with Halo 5's characters is that almost all of them are static, flat, and have little to no purpose in the narrative. So in Halo 5, we have 2 groups of characters, new and old. The old characters are all written so poorly that they barely resemble the characters we loved. They act, talk, and feel like machines, which violates everything that Halo 4 did with its story. So let's examine the Chief's character. Oh, but let me be very clear. The Master Chief in Halo 5 is one of the most disgraceful, disgusting, and offensive interpretations of the Master Chief it has ever been my displeasure to experience. In Halo 4, he was dynamic. His personality changed over the course of the story, culminating in one of the most memorable lines and moments in Halo history. Whether you liked or disliked Halo 4's campaign, you cannot deny the impact this final scene had. Cortana was dead, and Halo 5 would be the first game without her. Now remember, Halos 4, 5, and 6 are part of a planned trilogy, and each game is supposed to work with the others. They represent a 3-part story. Now, the biggest problem with Chief is that in the original trilogy, he's a static character. In Halo 4, he becomes dynamic, but in Halo 5, he becomes static again. And this ruins everything that happened in Halo 4. Why? Why would you backtrack the entire last game? Now this is bad enough, but Halo 5 goes one step farther because the Master Chief is nothing like he was in the original trilogy. He doesn't have any good lines, except one. He doesn't make any jokes. He doesn't have any interesting interactions with other characters. He has become a machine. Not only does Chief's character in Halo 5 sever the connection with the audience, but it's a fucking kick in the balls to anyone that calls themselves a Halo fan. This is a fucking disgrace, and I'm sorry if I can't control my anger right now, but you know what, 343? You know what, Brian Reed? And you know what, Microsoft? You just took a character I've known and loved for over half my life, and you just kicked me in the fucking balls for loving him. There are only two reasons we have to care about any of the characters. 1, we cared about them in past games or other material. 2, we are told we should care about them. And that's where Halo 5 totally and utterly drops the ball, is that the writers are telling you to care about the characters. One prime example is Vale's dialogue.
When I was a kid, I was stuck on a diplomatic shuttle adrift in deep space for 6 months. My options would be real bored or spend the time getting smart.
So rather than showing Vale as some sort of diplomat between humans and elites, she tells us facts about how she learned Sangheili. And this is the recurring problem with most of the characters. Facts about a character are not going to make us care about them. What makes us care is seeing their humanity, their emotions, experiencing their trials and tribulations, and being able to connect with them as though they were real people.
Tartarus. The prophets have betrayed us.
And what's worse is that these fan-favorite characters are shoehorned into the game as some kind of fan service. But the only fan service it does is kick us in the fucking balls again! Now, in most stories, there is generally a main character, a protagonist, someone you're supposed to relate to. In past games, you were able to connect to the Chief. You were meant to imagine yourself as him, and that's why he talked very little. But it's hard to relate to anyone in Halo 5. The protagonist can't be Chief because we only see him 20% of the time. And it can't be Locke because Locke doesn't have a lick of personality. But because you play as Locke for 80% of the game, 343 wants you to think of him as the protagonist. And how funny is that? The torch of the Halo franchise is to be passed to Locke, a character we know nothing about, cannot connect to, and do not care about. So you might be thinking, I've already proven my point about the characters, but let's ask some other people and see how they feel. I've come up with one simple question in relation to 4 different characters to show the difference between well-written and poorly written characters in the Halo franchise. If this character was not in the game, how would the story change and what would it lose? The more the story changes, the more valuable the character. Sergeant Johnson, Halo 2.
Johnson is like, that comedy kind of character. He's the kind of guy that, he brings in relief in serious situations. He was the main character that sort of lightened up the story.
He's always there to kind of reinforce Marine morale. He's always interacting with the other characters. He almost single-handedly completely changes the tone.
Johnson was essentially kind of the light-hearted side of the story.
I would say that Johnson was there primarily for comedic relief, but he was also a very important piece of the story.
He did something for the plot that no other character did. He was the one that really sort of allied with the Arbiter.
If you were to remove Sergeant Johnson from the story, you would lose not only the comedic relief, but at the end of the game, you would lose the bridge that kind of started the alliance between the Sangheili and the humans.
Vale, Halo 5.
I know that there's the which one's Vale? She's the one in the orange armor, isn't she? And Tanaka's the one with the huge eyes.
Vale is the red one, correct?
Well, I feel like the story wouldn't change much, if at all.
She was the technical person, right? She did their tech. I can't even remember the character, to be honest with you.
To me, Vale isn't really much of a character. All she really does is, know a lot about elites.
Oh, the problem is like that was like the most genuine answer I had. I was trying to think of something to say about her. I cannot think of it.
Exposition, gameplay, they didn't really add too much. I mean, Locke was kind of a cardboard cutout, but the other three, even Buck, for God's sake, was dull.
In my opinion, if you were to remove Vale from the story, nothing would change. It would play out essentially the same.
Tartarus, Halo 2.
Tartarus, pretty interesting character, direct antagonist of the entire story.
He was definitely the main antagonist, especially for the Arbiter.
Well, number one, if you were to remove Tartarus from the game, you would lose the leader of the brutes and pretty much the lapdog of truth, one of the most important characters of the game.
So I think Tartarus in Halo 2, without him, we lose our understanding of what the brutes are all about. I think he represents a culmination, basic form.
The story would change a lot. Tartarus was the one that led the betrayal of the elites. That was a huge plot point.
If Tartarus was not in Halo 2, it would monumentally change the outcome and the character development of the Arbiter. He's the muscle to the mouthpiece that is the Prophets, and he serves his purpose well.
Imagine Halo 2 without Tartarus. Who would you have, just another brute?
Warden Eternal, Halo 5.
The Warden is boring and not much of a character at all.
He was there to block you off from getting to Cortana too quickly so the story would end.
To me, he serves more a role to accommodate a lack of gameplay variety than actually serve a function in driving the plot forward.
The Warden's like a cheap replacement of the Didact when people reacted poorly to Halo 4 and filler for the campaign.
If Warden Eternal wasn't in the game would probably be a lot better.
So if you were to remove the Warden Eternal from the game, nothing would happen. In fact, the game would probably conclude even faster because all he served to the plot was slowing it down every time it started to get going.
He was a completely worthless waste of space. That's it. He was a seat filler. He was there to occupy space. That's it. He's got no personality, no interesting backstory. He is a giant generic robot with a crap voice.
Alright everyone, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed part 2. Life has been creeping in and preventing me from making this video a lot sooner, so I really appreciate your patience with this, and I hope the wait was worth it. This is the Act Man signing out. Peace!